are back, and we're very happily referencing this 1990 Ivan Reitman comedy gem in a football show, as you do. Anyway, here's tonight's full lineup of topics. First, will Klopp pick any of the kids for the next cup game, and how annoyed must Frank Lampard be to not be playing Shrewsbury? Meanwhile, also on today's menu, hashtag JD Eats featuring Thai food and Manchester United great Dwight Yorke, a lively combo. And I'll be catching up with today's headline makers, who include a pair of injured England forwards. But seeing as we're going to be starting off with that result for the Liverpool kids last night, who better than Lizzie Doyle of the Anfield Wrap podcast, who joins us from Merseyside tonight to talk about that. Lizzie, let's have a look at some headlines before we get straight into what will have been a very enjoyable night for you, I'm sure. Not surprisingly, given that was the big game last night, even though you might not have seen it on the television. Cop kids enjoyed their party. Was this one here from the Daily Mail. Elsewhere, all sorts of celebratory comments and congratulations for a manager who wasn't even there, of course, and gave his pre-match talk via a laptop. Klopp's words spur Liverpool's teen idols, and that was it. Those were the kids that did it for Liverpool. And Lizzie, let's start off by just saying, isn't it remarkable? Every single thing Liverpool do this season works. After all that talk about disrespecting the cup and everything like that, even this worked out for Jurgen, didn't it?
Nobody should be doubting Liverpool ever, including me, by the way, who, as a fan, when I first heard that he wasn't going to play any of the senior players, I was quite disappointed. But the more I heard Jurgen speak, the more it made sense that we have to respect this winter break, and there's a whole reason why it's being put in. You can't just go and throw another football game in it and expect the manager not to be angry. And I went in quietly confident. I mean, I travelled to Aston Villa to watch these lads when Liverpool went to play in the Club World Cup. So I went to Aston Villa in the League Cup where they got beat 5-0. But 5-0 was not a true scoreline. He played really well. I've watched them beat Everton. They've done okay against Shrewsbury in the last game. They've played MK Dons. They're a good bunch of kids, and they play really nice football.
Yeah, they were the better football team. The technique was better all the way. Yes, of course, there was a VAR disallowed goal, and then in the end it was a freakish own goal, really, that gave Liverpool the victory. But let's talk a little bit about some of these kids here. Their youngest ever starting 11. Average age 19 years and, 102 days or something like that. I jokingly called them the under-20s. Effectively, technically, they're the 23s, aren't they? Just tell me about some of these players. I mean, it looks to me as if Neco Williams, Lizzie, is already like a mini Trent Alexander-Arnold in the way he operates. There are some players here who would be comfortable in the first team, right?
Yeah, Neco Williams looks a great player. I mean, a couple of them have made the bench already. So Neco Williams has made the bench for the first team. I mean, you don't have to tell me about Curtis Jones. He's already become a little bit of a legend at Liverpool for his goal against Everton. And last night he was, I don't want to say he's head and shoulders above, because it was a great performance all round, but he looked like a captain, and he's only 19 years of age. He's the youngest captain in Liverpool's history, in the history of the club. And there's some really, really good lads there, and there's a couple of names that people have kept their eyes on. So like you've just said there, Neco Williams, especially with what we ask our fullbacks to do, it's a really, really difficult job. And some of the balls that he was playing in, Trent to be really proud of. He was probably man of the match last night. And then you've got obviously Harvey Elliott, who everyone's extremely excited about. We signed him in the summer at the age of 16, and we've watched him play a couple of times, and he looks a great player. He scored a bicycle kick for the under-23s the other day, and it was a brilliant goal. And he had another great game as well. So there's a lot of promise. There's a lot of talent in this team. And you know what? I just really, really enjoy watching them now. I think they're brilliant. I think it shows exactly what Klopp's trying to do with the club. He's creating a bit of a dynasty. Yeah,
you're right there, and there was continuity because, of course, Klopp spoke to them, as I said, before the game, and James Milner was around. He wouldn't go away for the sunshine. He was around, which was lovely to see. Now, what next is what I want to ask you. If we take a little look at what's happening in terms of the draw for the 5th round of the FA Cup. Now, there's still one to be decided there, and that's figuring out if it's going to be Spurs or Southampton that come up against Norwich. But 5 teams went through after replays last night. Notably, the eye is drawn to Wayne Rooney and Derby County coming up against his former club, Manchester United. And, of course, there was a particularly happy ending for the away fans of Newcastle at Oxford. But as it is, we now know it's Liverpool up against Chelsea. Now, I went on social media yesterday, Lizzie, and I noted that Chelsea fans were gleeful. They were saying, this is brilliant. We're going to play Shrewsbury. We're going to be cruising through the FA Cup. I just wonder what Jurgen Klopp is going to do. Who does he pick? Do the kids still stay in this FA Cup team?
Some of the kids will, not all of them. I think had this replay not been in the winter break, you wouldn't have seen a side that young. He's not trying to disrespect the cup, no matter what anyone says. I tell you what, if that game was about 2 weeks later, you would have seen more of what we call the fringe players play. You would have seen probably Joel Matip, you would have seen Dejan Lovren, you would have seen Fabinho, Naby Keita, Shaqiri if he's back, because all of these players also need minutes in the legs, and he wants to get them in somewhere. And because we're in a title run-in, we've got to take those opportunities. So he won't play all of the kids. However, I think Jurgen Klopp is a man of his word, and I think it'd be so unfair to say to Pedro Chiravella or to Curtis Jones or to Harvey Elliott, that you cannot play. Yeah. I think that would be really unfair. I think what he will do is he'll choose about 4 of them, and for me, that's the right back Nico Williams. I think he'll choose, like I say, Pedro Chiravella, and I think Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott will feature, but the rest will be fringe players. It's too big of a game, and like I say, if he wasn't taking the competition seriously, he wouldn't have played Mo Salah and Bobby Firmino in the first leg. No way.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant stuff. Great insight. Stick around for a bit, Lizzie, because we're going to get some more Liverpool chat away just now from a different kind of source here. Life's like a box of chocolates in many ways. You never know who's going to pop up. And in this part of the world, it just so happens that a former Liverpool great turned up in Malaysia on a little bit of promotional Premier League business yesterday. And here's a report on what he was up to, who he is, and what he had to say about Liverpool's success. And providing this report is Daniel Dairy Milk Ogunshakin.
3, 2, 1.
The sweet taste of celebrating Premier League success might elude the majority of football fans around the world. But thanks to Cadbury FC, a select lucky group in Malaysia were treated to an experience as delightful as dairy milk. The presence of the Premier League trophy was a highlight. Former Liverpool and Tottenham midfielder Jamie Redknapp was the undisputed fans' favourite.
I'm here because they've done a campaign in England with legends, and I hate to use that word because some of the other legends I think that they've won more than me, but it's really good. Buy and win, and then give people an opportunity to go and watch a Premier League game and soak up the atmosphere and do things that you perhaps can never get a dream of having an opportunity like that. And I'm involved in it. I was involved last year. This is my 2nd year. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's great to travel the world. It's actually my first time in Malaysia. I've been to Singapore and the first time in Malaysia, so really nice to come over here. People are so friendly, so warm. I've really enjoyed it.
When Redknapp joined Liverpool in 1991, they were reigning champions. Incredibly, 30 years later, they're still waiting for another league title.
It's been painful because it's not unlike what Manchester United are going through right now. They're going through exactly the same thing. You start searching for it, you try and change managers, you keep buying players, you buy big stars, you think that's going to be the answer. It's not. What Liverpool have done is they've created a team, a great environment for everybody to work hard for each other. It looks right now, and you never know how it changes when more success you come, egos start to get involved. But right now, it's a team that doesn't have any egos. They've bought really well, which is not necessarily all the manager. They have to have a great team behind the manager to help him bring in the best players possible. And they've identified the right type of character, and that's why they're so successful.
Currently leading the Premier League by a mammoth 22 points, Liverpool's long wait for their 19th league crown looks set to end. And the manner in which they're doing it has impressed their former captain.
What Liverpool are doing, to only have one draw is just they're astronomical numbers. It was coming last year. You could see it with the way they were playing, and Jurgen Klopp's got a squad that are so together. You see it, and he's developed that over time. It hasn't happened, the first year. It took time. They didn't win trophies, and now they're in a position where they won the Champions League last year, and it's just carried on. That snowball effect. They've got good senior players. I think the captain's had a brilliant season, Jordan Henderson. They've got a player in Virgil van Dijk who's, for me, the best centre-back I've seen in the Premier League. I've never seen one player come into a league and change a team like he has. And the goalkeeper, you can go on and on and on. They've been, a young right back that's come through the system. Salah was a player that wasn't wanted at other clubs, has come to Liverpool and been amazing. So there's so many success stories there.
And who would bet against future success for this current squad? Dan Ogunshakin, Fox Sports.
Nice one. Many thanks, Jamie, for that. Lizzie, yeah, lot of sense there, as always, from Jamie Redknapp there. I like that he spoke about character. That's what comes through, isn't it?
yeah, this whole team's built on character. I love what he said about the no egos, because even though we've got 3 centre forwards, they all seem to want to play for each other. Everyone wants to help each other, and I feel like we've got the best players in the world in so many positions as well. Everything about this team is just perfect, and if one of them has a bad game, another person steps up. They all help each other out. Honestly, I have never known a better time to be a Liverpool fan than right now.
Yeah, it's coming through in your voice. Lizzie, thanks as ever for joining us, and keep well. We'll talk to you again soon. That's Lizzie Doyle of the Anfield Wrap signing off there, and we're going to move from Liverpool to Manchester United, but keep the chocolate theme up next, because up next is Yorkie, as in Dwight Yorke, as I'll be out and about in Singapore. Wow, thanks so much for being with us. Great to see so many of you joining in today, and for all the comments, we really appreciate that. We've got a special little segment coming up next in which I chat about Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes and all that with Dwight Yorke. But we'll get as many comments away as we can. Hashtag JD Eats. Now this is a show in which I sit down with somebody famous from the world of football, ask a few questions, eat a bit of food, and who knows, maybe things get a little bit spicy. With that in mind, we've come along to Little Elephant, which is a slice of Thailand right here in Singapore's hipster neighborhood of Tiong Bahru. So, in a moment, I'm going to be meeting a football VIP, but he's not the only thing that's on the menu down here. Thai food's all about spice and flavors, so we grabbed the world-famous Tom Yum Goong soup, lip-tingling Som Tam Thai, and an appetizer platter perfect when washed down with an ice-cold drink. For dessert, we'd go for mango sticky rice. But before all that, time to welcome our very special guest to this quaint Thai bistro. Well, I promised you a football VIP for JD Eats, and here he is, Manchester United legend Dwight Yorke, a serial Premier League winner, a Champions League winner, the star of 1999. And here we are, sitting in this wonderful Thai restaurant. Tell me first of all, Dwight, Asian food, Thai food in particular, are you a fan?
Yes, I am. I've been very lucky enough after my footballing career. I've been able to travel the Asian specific for a long, or the Asian region for some time now. Loved every minute of it, and the more I keep visiting this part of the world, it gets better and better. And I think I have to say now, Singapore is right at the top of the tree, because I've been here several times now, and it gets better and better each year. And the food and the people is great.
And great diversity as well. That's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
As well. Sitting here, we've got Thai cuisine. We're in an area that's got just about anything you could possibly want. Let's get to the football side of things right now. As we sit here, we are in a country that is Manchester United mad. You know, there are so many fans of Manchester United. I think there are probably quite a few watching us as we film this right now. Bruno Fernandes has finally arrived. The United fans will have said, great, finally he's here. Can one man make a difference to United right now?
I'm not so sure. I think he will help the cause, because we are obviously in a very difficult position. So any acquisition, someone like obviously Fernandes is with his quality, with his track record, although it's still not proven in the Premier League, but he certainly will be a welcome addition to the squad. I think Ollie said in his interview after the game that he's down to the bare bones. So I think that at this point in time, we welcome him into the squad, and hopefully that he will bring some sort of quality and stability into the team.
Based on what we've seen this season in particular from Ollie's Manchester United, what do you think is lacking? Because there have been performances. You don't go to City and win twice without having something about you. There have been performances that offer encouragement, but then others that have been poor. So what's missing?
Well, you said it there. There's been a bit of a mixed bag at the moment when it comes to Manchester United football team. One day, as you said, you know, we play the big teams and we seem to have got very good results against them, and then we play teams that we all expected to win and result go against us. So he needs to find that right balance. He keeps saying to his players that we need to do better against the small or the lesser teams that of course he's got respect for, and know that the Premier League there is no easy game. Somehow he has to have that transformation, so to speak, and that consistency that we're all looking for, because that's always been the key factor in Manchester United success. It's all about the consistency, and what we are seeing with this team and certainly the teams before is the inconsistency. So he needs to try and implement that somewhere along the line, and I think if we can get that balance right, I think we'll be okay.
Let's talk about your area of specific speciality, scoring goals, right? You were part of a formidable squad. You had so much talent at the top end of the team, and you'd argue that there's talent in United. So tell me this, why did they feel the need to go and get Ighalo in? Is it just because of the Rashford injury?
I think the numbers, yeah, it doesn't suggest that he has the numbers. Ighalo was a bit of a surprise to all of us, although he seems to have done well when he was at Watford, but he seems to go a little bit, missing, and then no one could have seen this happening. Clearly, he probably feels Ighalo could do a job for us in the short-term factor. Whether it's a long-term deal, I'm not so sure, but it's more on the short term. So at the moment, we are lacking, and of course with the injury to Rashford, which is a key factor, hence his hands is tied, deadline. The end of the transfer market, he needs a striker in, and he feels Ighalo can probably do a job for him. But we are struggling in that department.
Yeah, Rashford was a massive blow, if only because at the time he looked like the most consistent of the attacking players, didn't he? Tell me what you make of the player. What kind of an attacker is he? What's he best at?
I think he'll be a number 9. I think there's a lot of talk about him. There was a little bit of a sort of inconsistency that people tend to raise about Rashford, but he's a head and above everyone there, in my opinion, from a striker's perspective. I think he'll be a great number 9. I think what people have to understand, he's still 21 and he's still in that learning curve, having the experience of being in that position before. You look at all the great strikers who scored all these number of goals, they're actually number 9. Rashford is, because of his talent, he's been able to play left side, right side, a bit like my development. But eventually, when he gets into that position, he will get the knack of what a number 9. You look at Alan Shearer, can't play anywhere else in the world, but you put him in that number 9, he has the way and know how to play. But Rashford has a lot more mobility, he can go past players, he can create, he can score. So hence, that's why people are saying he's not quite the number 9, but I do believe he can play number 9 as well.
What's interesting these days, of course, we're seeing a very vivid example of you not really needing a traditional number 9, because Liverpool might have one in Firmino, but he's anything but Alan Shearer. Instead, you're seeing a fluidity and you're seeing a pace about what they're doing and what other teams are trying to do. Do you think Manchester United are going to be able to develop along those lines, this kind of very modern, fluid strike force?
Well, United in the past, in the history, have shown that we have always got a number of attacking players. We have our own brand of playing, and yes, Liverpool is probably the team at the moment that everyone is kind of raving about, and quite rightly so. But United has a way of playing, and we have to concentrate on the way we can play and what we can produce.
How would you characterize that way of playing?
Well, we're not playing the Man United way, although I think that we have a huge amount of talent in the squad. Whether that belief is not installed into the players to express themselves a little bit more, I see a lack of confidence at times. And it's not the free-flowing way that Man United, the ball go out wide, the ball is delivered, and it's attack after attack.
So are you saying that when you say that there's talent within the squad, someone like James, is he a United player in the way that you're describing?
Well, it's difficult. Again, that's another young player you're talking about with very little experience, been put into the huge club, expecting a lot in short space of time. So, before, what you find at United has always been a balance of youth and obviously more experienced player. We're not seeing that. We're seeing a new group of guys who probably not familiar with the Man United way and not getting the guidance of a Paul Scholes or Roy Keane or that kind of around. We've got a bunch of young players now that is having the expectation of playing for Man United, and every game they're under the scrutiny, and it will take some time before they can get to that level.
It's only when I sit and talk to you that I realise what an amazing squad you were part of there. You just casually drop Roy Keane and Paul Scholes in there. Any football team in the world would just die for players like that. We spoke about Bruno earlier on, right? Do you think that's what's lacking? Just that powerful, authoritative central midfield figure?
Yeah, I think that, your midfield, you ask any footballer or any ex-managers, your centre, your team is always crucial, and you need a presence, you need someone with a little bit of oomph in there. I feel that we're a little bit light. We talked about Fred, is probably having his best spell as a Man United player. But you look at him, he's very tiny, there is nothing about him. You got, Fernandez now that we brought in, look a little bit light. McTominay, obviously, a little bit of something, but again, young, inexperienced. And Pogba, you know, when he's fit, at least we got something in there, but when he's not there, we are very, very light in there. And so that's, for me, is a big concern. And when you talk to the likes of Sir Alex and, you know, ex-managers, your centre, your midfield is always a key spot, and I feel that that's something that we need to strengthen.
So I think it's fair to say there's a lot of work still to be done, Dwight, at Manchester United. But thanks so much for those insights there. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit hungry. I need to do some genuine JD eating, and that's going to happen in just a moment. But first of all, thanks so much for the insights. I hope you enjoyed what Dwight had to say about what's happening at United, how far Liverpool progress in the Champions League this season, and help minimise any potential injuries going towards the last few months of the Premier League and Champions League. Yeah, absolutely. Massive opportunity, really, for them there. Jerome has had this to say. The kids did Liverpool fans very proud. Curtis Jones, potential first team in the future, along with Ravelli. The most amazing thing here is the kids continued the unbeaten streak of Liverpool at Anfield. Yeah, that really is amazing as well. That is fantastic, that continuity that Lizzie was talking about as well, and the spirit and character. Let's get on to Zafran now, who's been commenting here. Liverpool used their reserve and under-23 squad in the Cup this season. Lots of promising talents and great backup this team has. Brilliant. Yeah, that's really good use of a squad, it must be said. Prem, what have you been asking us about here, or commenting on the United stuff, talking about Bruno Fernandes. United need already to get ready to build the team around Bruno, as it's quite clear Pogba will be leaving and the future might be looking quite bright for Manchester United. How often have we heard about Pogba leading? He's in the headlines all the time. Speaking of which, it's time now to read between the lines. And I've got a couple of headlines for you that caught my eye today. Starting off with a Manchester United themed headline here. Jack Grealish, Ollie out to get his man, reportedly with Maddison on the verge of signing a new contract at Leicester. All focus on Jack Grealish here, their top target. And you know, I can absolutely fully understand that, as much as it would pain any Aston Villa fan to be hearing this one. Now, these are the simple stats for Jack Grealish, right? 23 games, 7 goals, 5 assists. But he is so much more than those numbers. Anyone who sees Grealish play knows he has the capacity to drive forward, to pick up a game by the scruff of its neck, to really dictate the tempo of play. The sort of thing that Manchester United have been lacking severely in terms of that link between the deeper lying midfielder, Bruno, and what happens further forward. What a deal that would be. Anyway, let's just see what happens there. Let's move on to our next one now, and this concerns United's crosstown rival City. That injury to Raheem Sterling. Now, these reports, this is from the Manchester Evening News, saying that he's a doubt or he'll be missing the game at the Bernabeu, against Real Madrid in the Champions League. You know, that game's on the 27th. That's still some way off. But obviously with hamstring injuries, as we've learnt from Harry Kane, they can have various degrees of severity. Raheem Sterling, though, his form has dipped in recent times. We've seen that, haven't we? Only 4 goals in his last 14 in the Premier League, despite scoring 11 so far. They should be able to cope. That's what I would say there. Talking about Harry Kane, this is a weird story, this one here. Now, it started off as being, towards the end of the season he'd be back. Then it was May. Now it's Jose Mourinho saying, we might be able to use him for a couple of games if we need to. Hang on a minute. Isn't that how he got injured? They used him because they needed him, and it wasn't good for him. Euro fears as well now for Harry Kane. This is a serious problem. And there's one other thing I have to draw your attention to, and this is an amazing story concerning Barcelona. Now, you'll have seen what's happening here. This was the AS newspaper, the Catalunya edition. Basically, you can understand that. That means Chaos FC, because there's also this 4-month absence now of Ousmane Dembele out with his torn thigh muscle. Problem with that one is that you've got the Messi situation in the background. Now, what happened here, remember, was that Eric Abidal, the sporting director, came out and said the Ernesto Valverde sacking came about because some players hadn't been trying. And Messi went straight on social media to say, you've got to name names, otherwise you're tainting the whole squad. Everyone's name. It's amazing that he should have done this. There are huge problems at Barcelona. 3 likely outcomes, according to an article I read by Gab Marcotti on ESPN.com. You should read it too. The least likely of those 3 outcomes is that Messi will be leaving.